Members of the International Communication Association, colleagues, friends, this is not a standard presidential address. There's nothing normal about the situation the world is currently in. Despite vaccinations being rolled out, and my sincere congratulations to those of you who have received or have had loved ones being vaccinated, the pandemic is still raging in many places on the planet, and many social and economic costs are still to come. The pandemic has challenged the members of our association and also the association itself. The ICA is built upon a community that meets and interacts. And from the moment in March 2020, where we flipped the Australia conference to an online conference, and all the way to today, where we were supposed to meet in Denver, Colorado, it's just 15 months, and yet it seems like forever. In the past period, we have seen that the struggles are real, and they are ongoing. The precarious role of young scholars and the imbalance with which the pandemic has affected female colleagues and also caregivers, as Grace Ann and others have articulated recently in their communication, culture and critique article. The sense of disconnect, the exhaustion, the loneliness and the worries, they're all real. The global North-South divide have become even more clear. Existing inequalities even more apparent. And it's not over yet. It is my sincere wish that the coming months will be months that also offer hope. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. These words, appropriated by many, including also Kelly Clarkson, seem almost appropriate to describe the resilience and ability to move forward that has been characterizing our field in the past period. In my address today, I make 10 observations about our field and association. 10 things that have made me think in the past years. 10 things that I saw, wondered about, feel passionate about. There are 10 observations about where the communication scholarship and the ICA can and should play a role. Ideas for an idea agenda. 2020 was a year characterized by the pandemic, but also by democratic backsliding, some democratic resilience, but also injustice and racism. We represent a field, communication, that can both help understand the impact and role of media and journalism in these societal dynamics, how media and communication can both contribute to sustaining power, but also to change. We can and we do contribute to discussions about inclusion, diversity, equity and access. We need to do so in our work, but we also need to think about how we organize our field. In the past year, we have made important steps forward towards making the ICA and our community a space that offers more commitment to the IDEA agenda. But I believe we need to do more. We can turn to inspiration from our students, our early career community, and our IDEA committee members to learn how we as an organization can bring about change. But we also need to ask ourselves how we can contribute to this agenda in society at large. How we ask our questions, the parts of the world we study, how we listen, and how we share knowledge all matter. We're generating a wealth of knowledge that we can and should be putting to use. Scholarly values matter. As Alondra Nelson, the newly appointed Deputy Director for Science and Society for the White House and former President of the US Social Science Research Council, recently said when taking office, we need to situate and ground our science in values of quality, trust and accountability. I believe this is a very powerful statement and a fundamental statement. Quality, trust, accountability, these are guiding values, they're empowering values, and they're binding values. To be relevant as a voice, we need to strive for quality in our research. We need rigor and self-reflection. We need to continually earn trust in our work. And we need to be accountable for our work to our colleagues, but also to society at large. These are values we should pursue, values we should teach, and values that should also guide the work of the International Communication Association. Scholarship should be open. In the run-up to and after last year's conference, we launched several open scholarship initiatives. There were sessions and roundtables, tutorials, an open scholarship section of the ICA website, and open scholarship opportunities in our journals and at our conference. A lot has happened in this space, and I sincerely hope that the ICA and the communication field can lead by example. We were perhaps late to the open scholarship movement, but I believe that communication has much to offer when thinking about open communication scholarship. We can offer respectful and critical ideas about different types of scholarship, from ethnographic work to digital work, and how to square that with openness, transparency, and self-reflection. And as communication scholars, we can help getting the communication about open scholarship right. New research is often just a small piece of a bigger puzzle, and most often not big, sensational headlines from a preprint manuscript. We know that as communication scholars. Democratic backsliding is also about communication. In many countries, in many democracies across the world, we're experiencing not only the questioning of authority and trust in information, but also actual threats to journalists and scholars and the undermining of democratic institutions. The work by Barbie Seleter and colleagues in this space is very important. Do we study enough countries? How can our communication scholarship be part of this conversation? What knowledge can we leverage? We have a rich body of work speaking to the importance of communication and journalism and the free press vis-à-vis populist movements. We can show how media and communication, including tech platforms, have ignited and fueled processes of democratic backsliding. But can we, as a field, as an association, do more to put this knowledge into action and be guardians of communication and the free press? Big tech has become too powerful. The past years have shown that big tech companies are central features of our information infrastructure. They operate in a free market, often in lieu of regulation, or taxes for that matter. They're at the eye of the storm when we discuss democracy. They have often short-sighted, ad hoc, mostly US-driven policies and community rules, and no systematic, accountable, public-facing system of governance. Being a central part of the societal, economic, democratic, and regulatory conversation of getting this right is a major task for our field, and we look to guiding voices like Joan Donovan and Marietje Schaake for this. And we will work on being strong advocates for ensuring scholarly access to, for example, social media platform data. Turning away from the democratic debate. In recent years, we have paid a lot of attention in our research and in societal debates to information sharing, politically driven ideological bubbles, processes of polarization and radicalization. This remains of utmost importance, but the past year has also highlighted another important cleavage. An inequality and a cleavage in whom it is that is tuning in, and very importantly, who it is that is turning away from the public and democratic debate. Ideological and identity-driven media and information choices, they matter, but perhaps we need to pay more attention to those tuning away from and out of the political and the public debate altogether. In our information ecology, there's rich opportunity to engage with media and communication, and yet avoid the political and democratic debate altogether. Perhaps we should worry as much about the part of the citizenry that does not tune into the democratic debate as the one that causes the polarization. Health and science communication at the core. The COVID-19 pandemic has overwhelmingly been addressed as merely a public health concern. Too little attention in most countries has been paid to the pandemic as a challenge in terms of effective health communication and interventions and behavioral campaigns. Too little attention has been paid to the mental well-being, and too little attention has been paid to insights from science communication about how to discuss misinformation and ensure a high vaccine rollout. We have colleagues in our field and in the ICA who have been trailblazers and who have had real policy impact. But we need to make communication insights matter more in this space. We need to have politics and public administrators look more broadly at what a pandemic and a health challenge is. Digital competences are basic competences. The past year has thrown the globe into the ultimate digital and online experiment. This period has highlighted and amplified the importance of digital competences, and add to this the competences when it comes to the rollout of artificial intelligence and hybrid human-machine interactions in all corners of society. Many of our colleagues have looked at media literacy and different life stages. They have a lot to offer. But these human-machine interactions, the AI systems, that's where we need to turn to great colleagues like Kate Crawford and Gina Neff for inspiration. As communication scholars, we can leverage this knowledge to provide robust education, understanding of the full ecology, and insights on how to develop true digital competences across the lifespan. Is small the new big? As we ride the wave of big data, network analysis, digital trace data, we are also challenged as communication scholars to apply this in our current designs. How to effectively study the impact of social media platforms. We do not have the right data access. We have a hard time reliably assessing the usage of the exposure. We need to enrich this with smaller scale studies, ethnographies, observations, in situ studies, repeated measures within individuals. New and exciting work is going on in this space, and we as communication scholars are actually really well poised to combine methods and designs from humanities, social sciences, computational, and digital research. Beyond single discipline answers, the questions our societies are faced with today when it comes to communication are not simple ones. The world is looking to us for answers about the impact of gaming, the impact of social media, the role of communication in the climate crisis. Not small, not easy questions. I very much believe that we need a combination of solid, small and focused contributions in combination with larger interdisciplinary teams. Combining questions of governance, communication, data, ethics, they require insights from also beyond our own field, but also a key role for the communication field. Colleagues, ICA friends, my 10 observations have come to an end. They were eclectic. They have been prompted by developments in the past year in response to what is happening in our field and in our association. It is my hope and conviction that the ICA will be a place to address many of these questions. The in many ways horrible year 2020 has perhaps made ICA stronger. Despite the inability to meet and interact as we usually do, we have found new ways to connect and be helpful colleagues, mentors and educators. And maybe we've even reached out to scholars and met colleagues and found new collaborators that we would have missed on the floors of our conference hotel and in our own institution. The pandemic has worsened inequalities, but has also offered opportunities. The last year has been humbling, out of all comfort zones. I was born in the 1970s. I'm a child of the 80s with a lasting love for the music and the pop culture of then. A teenager of the 1990s. The world then was unfair, but in many ways seemed to be moving to a better place. I was 16 when the Berlin Wall came down, 18 when Denmark won the European Football Championship. I'm white, I'm male, I'm from Denmark, and I work in Amsterdam. Like many of my generation, my descent, and yes, also my gender, I've been given a lot of privileges. Today, at 46, I look at the world and I worry that we are now in a time where the world becoming a better place is far from clear. And many people around the globe rightfully ask for it to become better for them. There are immense democratic, social and environmental challenges ahead. No matter whether thinking about communicating about big political ideas or changing our own behavior, engaging with families, expressing ourselves online, communication and media are very much at the core of this change. Communication can, should, and I believe will be at the center of finding the right answer to these challenges. It has been a privilege to serve as your president. It was humbling to give a year to the ICA community. Student Hardship Fund, going virtual, Idea Support Fund, mentorships, regional hubs, these were all topics we did not expect to be as prominent as they were in the past year. Being an ICA president is a transitory, but also really a teamwork job. I want to thank the EC colleagues, the headquarters, Laura, the board of directors, and everyone in committees, divisions, and interest groups. The ICA and the membership that I have come to know better has shown a remarkable viability and resilience amongst the huge challenges, and that bodes very well for the future.